Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Radwan. I'm a Visual Studio ALM MVP and DevOps practice lead. In this video, we are going to continue on the series of DevOps for Dynamics, and we are going to see how to write unit testing and run them, including the build on VSTS. And in this video, I'm going to use FakeXRMEasy and Microsoft Fakes. So let's see that. So as we can see here, this is the project with FakeEasy, and this is the project with MS Fake. So let's start with FakeEasy. Again, this is the same plugin with the follow-up, which we in all the videos, the previous videos. So I started the project by creating in the solution. I start adding new project, and I chose unit testing. I work with MS Test for this demo. So I choose MS Test and I start naming that with the convention using unit testing with FakeEasy. Once I have that, I start selecting this project and I open NuGet package manager console. Of course, we can open it from here. And once I start install, hit tab, and we can see install package. And if we type space fake XRM, yes, so we have FakeXRMEasy 2016. If I hit enter, then this will install the framework. But we have to make sure to select the unit testing project, because I don't want to add this reference to the plugin project. I want to add that to the testing project. I hit enter, this will install the library and adding all the reference. So once I have that, we will see that I have here the reference for the CRM SDK and as well as the XRM FakeEasy, which is here. Once I have that, I start writing my unit test. And on the website of the MVP the fellow MVP that created this framework, you will find a very good example. I just took this example about the plugin, the follow-up plugin here. So as you can see here, if I go, this is the following up, this is under test, and I create a class with the same name but with test. So I create one class, one file for each class. So as we can see that what I'm going to do is first is to create a fake context. Then we're using here the assembly.getExecuted, so we can get the reflection of the executed assembly, so we can get the content inside this assembly. And we started creating new GUID here, creating new entity of account, so the main idea, we start preparing to call the following up method. Here we start preparing, this is the input parameter I'm going to send for my method, and here the input parameter dot add. So all this preparation, as we can see. Then after that, as we can see, context.execute plugin. Now I start executing the plugin, which is just as we can see here, call this method, which is, if we go for execute here, this is how it's executed. So if I get back here, so execute plugins, and then just to put the input and the output. Now when this execute, it should create the task. So here, using the framework, you create query with tasks and get the list of that. So to make sure that, as you can see, I assert that I have one task and the description of the task or a subject of the task is send email and it has the GUID, so which means that the task is created. And as we can see, using XRM FakeEasy is easy because you don't need to, getting all of developing or coding that part because it's based on the reflection. The very important part here is to make the task work where here this entity I need to have this proxy classes. And how I did that, by just clicking here and using add proxy classes, and here add my domain, and here it was UI automation, and I choose my solution. Okay. So this will load all the classes. So if I open that, then I will go, because I need the task, just nt. As we can see, I have the task. I will add to the project, and this will create the base proxy class and the task, so I can use that, and that's it. Once I have that, I can run the test. So let me see that. So the conclusion, we just execute the plugin, then assert that the task associated task is created. This is why we even have the name of the method like that. It's the same. Let's see the execution of that, especially when we reach this. So if I put here a breakpoint and came here to and debug selected test. So as we can see here, now I reached this. If I step into, now I will just go to execute the method as it is executed on. As we can see here, the task is created, the subject added, the description added, the schedule, all of this data created the task, added the GUID, and all of that. So when I reach that, the task is created. So in my unit test first, I will get all the tasks to list. So now I got the task, which is only one task. And I will assert that the task count is 1 and that the subject is send email to the new customer and that it has the GUID that I said. So now I understand that yes, the task is created. If I continue, we can see that this test method passed. So how this could be an error, if anything changed, let's say instead of creating the task, I create another entity, which is anything like that, and just I run. This will of course rebuild the application, both of them. So it's failed. Why? Because when in my unit test, when I start retrieving all the tasks, I couldn't find any. It will be 0. Let's very quickly debug that. If I step 11, so of course try another entity, which is not, but here is the exception, couldn't find reflected type for tasks. So if I return back that to the task and I get back here, another error could be happen if I change here, for example, if I change the subject and instead of send the email to the new customer to something else. Or so also when the test is asserting on the subject, then if I forgot to put the ID of the parent, which is the account, then this will also fail. So the main idea is the unit testing is trying to put the checklist of what is the plugin should achieved and make sure to assert that this should be achievable or doable by the code. So this part for the fake easy. If we go for MS Fake, which is I will use even the same example and the same concept, but using MS Fake. So first, MS Fake with Visual Studio 2015, it has a problem. I work it with only Visual Studio 2017. So here is the plugin. But here I needed to make change in the code. This is why I have here following up. This is the plugin after I make some change so I can test it, and here is the original plugin as before. So let me show you that. So what I did here is that in the follow-up task I make it public so I can access that and to assert about the value of that. Of course, this is not a good practices. In reality, I will make it internal, not public, and give access for this internal member only for the testing assembly. So the testing assembly will be only the assembly can access this internal modifier. But for this configuration, I just make some quick testing using the public to just show you. So the main idea here, I start exposing the member that I want to assert on them. And I start executing my service, my test in the same way, and start asserting on that. So how we do that? It is the same. We start adding a new project using MS Test. And once I add the project, I start adding reference to the SDK of the CRM. So let me, by the way, we have to add from this project reference to this project. So if you will find in the reference here, I already have the plugins reference because I need to test that. So I need to call the method. Anyway, getting back here. So the first step is to add reference to the XRM SDK so I can use it, and also for the quality tool testing fakes. Once I have that, I start right click and add fake assembly. Also for the system, I got question why I add for the system, because iService provider, if we look at that, if I just go for definition here, go to definition, we'll find that this exists in the system namespace. So I need to fix that as well. Once I create this fake, it by default create many other fakes system, and also it doesn't appear here. So if I go for the fake here, I can see here I have MS core lib fake and system fake and also the XRM fake. So once I have this fake, all these fakes, I start creating my testing class, and I just here in the test initialized at the beginning of the class, I start to declare my variable, service provider, plugin, execute, context, organization, service. I start creating my stubs, which is not a real object, but it just stops using the fake. Here is the stubs for service provider, for organization, and then as we can see here, here I'm start overriding the get service, so I will, instead of returning the actual object, but here injecting our object, our stubs. So here, for example, if it is I plugin execute context, then you will return I will return context, which is a stub, not a real object. If it is I organization, we will return organization factory, but it's a stub. So when it's executed, it will return the stubs. And then it is the same. I start preparing the same, like creating the input parameter, here is in my test method, creating the input parameter, put the ID, the account, all the same. It is the same exactly. And then here I start asserting. How to assert? Calling the plugin and start to assert. How to assert? Because now I have the follow-up as a public, then I can access that. So I make sure it is null. It is not null, which means that I already created the task. And so here it's an entity. I can also start accessing the logical name of the entity to make it task, not something wrong, because this could be any something wrong. It could be paused, but in order to make sure that it is something else, also I can assert on the logical name of this entity to be task, and here with the object ID, and it is the same. So if I run that, let us try, because this is, of course, if I came here and create anything except the task, this method still will pass, right? But here, if I put new assert, dot is equal, here this will be the first object, which is plugin dot logical name, I think, yes, dot toString equal, no, this is the first object, and the second object is not sure if task is capital or small. Let me, I think, yes, okay. So this is task. So, okay. Then let's run the selected. So as we can see, it failed. Why? Because the assertion is not correct. So if I came here and fix my task to be task correct and run my method again, or my test again, this should pass now. So it is the same concept. We assert that the task is created and it is type of task, and the count is 1, and the subject also I can assert on the subject, it is send email. So it is the same way. Of course, using FakeEasy, because it's using reflection and getting all this data for you, and using query, so it's much easier to doing that. But on the other hand, using MS Fake, you have full control about your test. Of course, using a public is not the best option. I will say I will put it as internal with a special exposing to the testing assembly only. but this could be, you know, part of that. So, and also I can get more how to maybe calling in a different way, but this for now. I created also two other methods, which is, for example, that must throw exception. So this method is you have to throw exception if there is no account ID. Uh, and think of that again. It could be something like a design driven. Because if I put this method, for example, or a test driven, like you have to throw exception if the account ID is not is null, for example, is no account ID. So you have to throw exception. So this method expecting this exception. This is why here to implement that I had to throw exception. Let me find it. If the account ID, yes, here I throw this exception. So if my method doesn't throw this exception, it will fail. Let's comment this. So my method failed. If I uncomment and run my test again, it will pass. So this is the main idea, that this method expecting exception to be thrown if something is not good. So I make it as not good and I'm expecting the exception. Another one, if the entity is created except the account, for example. Uh, so for example, I just make this another entity created, not the account, so the task should not be created. And in this method, for example, how I test that, by make sure that the follow-up is null. Because if you make the follow-up, it means that you create the follow-up task, even not the account, even another account of the entity created. So this is why it executes the plugin and make sure that the follow-up is null. It must be null. But if you create it, it means also you can say like it's just get out, because in my code I should, if it is not account, I should exit out of the method. So if I forgot that, this method will fail, but if I remember, this method will succeed. So the main idea is, you can think it is a requirement for your code, and you write that inside the unit testing, which is satisfying the code is satisfying the unit testing, which means that pass. Okay, the second part is how to run that with the build. Uh, so we can see here, this is the method, this is the project with FakeEasy, and this is the project with MS Fake. So first, let's run the project with FakeEasy, for example. Q, and see that. And let me go with MS Fake. Q. So this is the other one. So this is the FakeEasy, and it runs successfully. As we can see, still continue to run. This will be, of course, waiting because it is the same agent, a virtual machine on Azure. This will start now, but let me see that. So as we can see, the method here is running successfully. So let's go for, we can see here, this is the method, how many test method or test passed, one test passed, and so on. So let's look at what is the task here. For that, if I go for edit, as we can see, I start get NuGet to restore. Restore what? Restore the testing adapter for Microsoft Test and restore the FakeEasy library. Then I start having a Visual Studio task which is building the solution. Then here the testing task, and that's it. Let's look at the other one, still executed. And also I'm using here, as you can see, Microsoft code coverage for unit testing. Again, I can use it even with FakeEasy as well. So here I have with MS Fake, I created, as you remember, 3 testing unit test. So if I go here, we can see that I have 6 method passed, and I have here the code coverage. And if we get back to it is the same NuGet package to restore the package, Visual Studio, and running assembly. And of course, for the code coverage, adjust code coverage enable. And that's it. At the end, I would like to thank you for watching this video. Please, if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me on my blog, muhammadradwan.com. Thank you.